Will everyone please rise and salute the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councillor Correggio?
Here.
Councillor Janino? Here. Here. Councillor Guanasso? Here. Here. Councillor Haas? Here. Here. Councillor Patch?
Here.
Here. Councillor Penza?
Here.
Here. Councillor Reardon is absent. Councillor Zambuto?
Here.
And Chairman Powers?
Here.
Here.
The purpose of this meeting this evening is to discuss a motion number 13-2020 that was made by Councillor Zambuto, and it was in regard to the John Avenue pump station in the Point of Pines. And the motion read that the mayor request a representative from Brown Coldwell, the project manager for Albanese Construction, the city planner, the city engineer, the DPW Superintendent, the Clerk of Works, and if applicable, to appear before the City Council to explain the malfunctions of the Point of Pines pump station. And that's what we're going to do right now. I'm going to open it up in a second to Councillor Zambuto. But I want to clarify one thing. There were comments made in the Revere Journal this week, okay? And I'll quote from the Journal. And I don't know who said it, but it's in there, and it says, there are some games being played here, okay? There are no games being played in the City Council chamber or in any of our departments that I know of, okay? The only game that I've played as a City Councilor representing Ward 5 is to try to improve the quality of life for the people who lived in Ward 5 with regard to flooding and raw sewerage in their basements. And I think we've accomplished quite a bit of that. So with that said, I'll now open this up to Councillor Zambuto for any questions he may have for the attendees. Councillor Zambuto.
I thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me make a brief statement to start. I've been on this council almost 14 years. I'm not known as a bomb tosser, someone who goes after people or looks for gotcha politics. Never have, never will. Everybody knows I'm honest up here. I tell the truth. When I think something's wrong, I speak my mind. There's been some comments made. I'm not going to attribute them to you or anybody else. Just like that comment might have been made by me in the paper, I'm not sure it was. If it was, fine. But there's been some stuff that I'm going to shut Zambuto up and all this kind of crazy talk. All I'm looking for is a little simple information, not pointing any fingers at anybody. There may be nothing wrong. Everything can probably be explained. But the way it was handled, I don't feel was appropriate. Simple as that. So let's get to the simple questions. Let's start with, I guess, this gentleman here. You're from Brown and Coldwell. Yeah, come, please approach the podium, please.
Bob, would you please state your name and address for the record? Put the
Press the button, please.
Bob Winter with Brown and Coldwell Engineering. My address is 124 Chaffee Avenue. I live in Waltham, Massachusetts.
Thank you. Councillor Zambuto.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The reason this motion was put in was because I got several calls from people that alarms were going off at the station. I was not familiar with the project because I, frankly, leave things like that to the people that are responsible for putting these projects together. I was involved in some of the big projects in the city. I was involved in the construction of the police station. Was at every construction meeting. I knew exactly what was going on. Unlike here, I was never there except for the groundbreaking or whatever it was. Yeah. So when people call me, when I think the job is substantially complete, maybe not complete, but substantially complete, and there's concerns about stuff, I want answers. So simply, maybe you can address these alarm situations. Would you like to do that first? Or?
Sure. I'm not exactly sure which alarms you're talking about, but we did have some problems with some of the alarms It was actually a little while ago, but they were going off. There was a problem with the fire detection system, and it was sending false alarms off.
Okay.
That was fixed, though.
Okay, well, these were up until last weekend, as far as I know. I don't know what,
Don Gooden, Superintendent of Public Works, 6 Lloyd Road, North Reading, Massachusetts. Brown and Coldwell will not know when the flashing alarm goes off. What we have is an alarm for the operation of the pump station that was with the old station that will notify us immediately if there's any operational problems with the pump station. With the new pump station, we had in a secondary set of alarms for intrusion, leak detection on the generator, smoke detector for the building, and that was put on a strobe light outside the building. At some point in time when we put the monitoring system in, we're going to integrate them, and then we'll be able to be notified in live time what the problem is. We presently don't have that capability. It is going into the system.
If I
And
may,
we've had,
just to interrupt, Council, that was not part of the original contract, the monitoring system itself?
correct,
Okay.
correct. That's a change order on my part.
okay, let me, so that's an interesting thing. I thought that the alarm system and what I consider will be like a house alarm that goes to a police station and so forth, I thought that was part of the original contract. It's not?
No, we had the old system was still in the station at the time, Tony. It's a radio activated thing that calls us on our phone. It calls our answering service, and who's ever on call gets the call to go out. The reason for the monitoring system is not so much for the alarm situation. It's because we want to know what's going on in that pumping station real time. During a storm, Nick Rystam can go on the computer and find out what the flows are, if there's any problems, if we're having problems with any of the pumps, so we can know, for maintenance purposes as well. So we will know how that station is operating on a daily basis. We'll get an upgrade as to how much flow may be going through the station, any problems that might starting to evolve. The run times might change from the normal operating run times, things of that nature. So you don't have to wait, 2, 3, 4 months down the road, and you end up with a serious problem. We want to identify the problems as soon as they arise and attend to them as quickly as possible.
Okay, so can I ask you, when do you expect to have this new remote alarm system in place?
I really don't know. I know we've made a decision that what the system we're going to use. I believe that that's a change order, and I think Bob has been handling, because we didn't know if we were going to put in a mission system or a spider system, and I made the decision to put the spider system in. So that was kind of the holdup.
So it seems like it should be a high priority change order, no?
Yeah, for me it is. For me it definitely is, and I know it is for Nick Rice.
I think it should be for the city, yeah.
Yes, exactly.
I agree. Okay, Bob, if I can ask you again, I just want to go through a few of these simple questions.
Yep.
Nobody's looking to point any fingers at anybody. Right. Nope. There may be very little or nothing wrong down there. But the fact that somebody asks questions, I don't think should be an issue. It has been.
Okay.
Bottom line is, how much of the job is complete in percentage-wise? Would you say 85% is done?
No, I'd say they're like 99% done.
99% done?
They're pretty much done.
Oh, okay, so I'm misinformed on that.
Yes.
As specified, I understand. I looked through.
Yeah, there's some change order.
I looked through the specifications, and I see a lot that I would have wanted in there that isn't in there. And it looks like all the old stuff is not in. None of the cleanup of any of the old equipment is part of this, right? I mean, aside from the pumps and stuff. I'm talking about what's left there now.
Yeah, the work that was contractually under the design,
okay,
that work is pretty much been done. There are a few change order items that are still being worked on, but
okay,
99%
because
of it.
as I was looking for information, I happened to go and find out how much has been paid on this.
Right.
Somebody, told me they thought, and it was an estimate, that there was 85% of the job done. when I went to look, there's 99% of the money paid. I got a little concerned. Now, I'm glad to hear that from you, who oversaw this project. Is that the way this works? Brown Coldwell
Yes.
is, in essence, the clerk of the works there?
Yep.
You sign off on the
Yep.
work and so forth?
That's right.
Okay. I have a couple of concerns that perhaps I'm being foolish. I see the panels outside, the electric panels, that anybody can hop that fence, shut them off, kill our pump station, back up sewerage into people's houses. I'm sure there's going to be a remedy to this.
Yeah.
One would be a cabinet, the other one would be locks on the, but right now, a kid could jump over there. Am I incorrect in assuming that? That's what I see from when I went there.
Yeah, that's being addressed.
It is being addressed.
Yeah. They're
Beautiful.
going to put locks on those.
Charles Lombardi, 51 Thornton Road, Waltham, Mass. Work with Brown Coldwell. Been the client service manager on this project from its inception. Councillor Zambuto, the concerns that you just raised were raised by Councillor Powers a while ago and have been, they were not contractual items. They were items that he observed, and we worked through Superintendent Goodwin. Today, I believe the panel had, we drilled out the panels so you could add attached locks so they couldn't be, they can't be shut off through an act of vandalism.
That's good.
You had mentioned conduits. The conduits that are there were designed in. That's something that's consistent with designs for other municipal pump stations. It's intended to allow for the quick connect and disconnect of a pump if it needs to be taken out for maintenance and a new pump put in its place while the pump that's being maintained is brought back to a shop for maintenance. We are working with Superintendent Goodwin. Prior to your bringing it up, again, Councillor Powers brought it up at one of our progress meetings, and that fix is in process. So we welcome the questions. We don't view them as problematic. The light was intended to go on, and we were hoping that people would tell us when it went on, and then we could deal with the reasons why they went on. And
Can I stop you for a minute?
Sure.
Somebody just told me today that the light has been disconnected. Is that correct?
I'm not aware of that.
Okay. Well, this is the stuff. Okay, I'm only asking questions, Donnie. I'm not looking for. I know that when I ask a question, I'm going to get an honest answer here. So it hasn't been disconnected, right?
It has been disconnected, and not without my knowledge by somebody that works for
Okay, but okay. Oh, all right. So there's a possibility it is disconnected. I'd like to check on that right away. You obviously have a punch list?
Yes.
Okay. At some point, can I get a copy of this punch list?
You can get a copy. We will provide a copy to Councillor Powers. We'll also provide it to you if you want, or you can get it through Councillor Powers.
Well, I mean,
Whatever you want, Councillor.
I think anything any councillor gets, any councillor should be able to get. I represent that area as much as the ward councillor. I'm an at-large councillor. We all represent the people, the taxpayers of Revere. So, I've involved myself in this now because I got several calls from the neighborhood. I'm sure Councillor Powers has been right on top of all of this. I haven't conversed with him about it. And as soon as I heard a problem, I simply put a motion in to have everybody come up so we could ask questions, and we'll be all done with it, and hopefully there's an answer to every little question.
I hope there is.
It appears there is. And yeah, I would like a copy of the punch list, if
Yes,
that's
sir.
possible. When do you expect these punch list items to be done?
They're ongoing. Up to a couple of weeks. I think the installation and the testing associated with the alarm monitoring system and the alarm management system, so to speak, which is the city's looking at a Spider, there's a mission, it's like a Ford and a Chevy, okay?
I understand.
And they're going to compare which one is better,
Yeah.
which one gives the city what it needs from an operational point of view, which is the most economic, which is the most reliable, and then make a decision on where to go. There's really not a bad decision here. It's just, which one is working best on the fire.
So things like the puddling in the generator is a punch list item, and
Yes. Yes.
Are we going to address that water runoff off the building into that?
Everything on the punch list item that created that alarm to go off. And again, I want to say, it is not a audible alarm. It's a visual alarm, okay?
I understand that.
They were designed in.
It's a light that
Yeah,
flashes.
it's a light that goes off. The ability for certain fields in that pump station to be alarmed was part of the design. The old station didn't have that ability. The new station has that ability. And further, with this alarm management system, those alarms are going to be identified and in some cases be able to be dealt with remotely. For example, if the intrusion alarm went off, someone could call, it will indicate it's an intrusion alarm. Someone could call the police department and say, we have an intrusion alarm over at the Point of Pine Station. Can you ride by and make sure everything's okay? And if it's okay, it can be remotely reset and having to send out somebody to go out there. A very inexpensive and efficient way
Right.
to deal with potentially could be a serious problem.
Right.
at
Right now,
this
we have
facility.
people actually going out there when the light goes off, right?
Well, Donnie, Superintendent Goodwin wants to make sure that there are no issues at this pump station. The city invested a lot of money. We work closely with the mayor on this. He wanted to be informed, and, along the way, he instructed us to be, closely communicating with Councilor Powers and Superintendent Goodwin. And we've done that, and we'll communicate with all the councilors, but Councilor Powers has been great to work with. And he's not been, when things weren't going, when they were delayed, he was on us. He would call us, we would call him. We told him the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we actually think that this has been a great project, that Superintendent Goodwin and Councilor Powers really did an outstanding job, and the mayor, in making sure that Point of Pines community was protected quickly, as evidenced by the fact those 3 wet weather events that we had at the end of calendar year 2012 were significant. And Councilor Powers told me he didn't get one call about a sewer backup or a sewer overflow, which I've been 20 years in the MWRA. I spent 10 of it at the Point of Pines community, pumping it out. So it's been, and with you, Mayor Haas, Councilor Haas.
I think that, that's a credit to the design and construction of this, but, it's also a credit to the $1 million worth of taxpayers' dollars that we don't expect problems after spending $1 million on a pump station. If I can bring up the guy from Albanese,
Sure.
if you don't mind.
Good afternoon, Paul Shenna, Albanese DNS Vice President, 16 Eastern Ave, Stoneham, Mass.
Thank you. Just simply, your company's obviously doing the punch list. You have a feel for how many items are on that punch list and how long it's going to take you to complete them?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Wynn. However, I would say 80% are clerical paperwork items.
Okay.
And there's
So let's say
2 or
that
3 maybe are related to actual items that the generator manufacturer / vendor will address.
So there's really no items for you? For your, no real items?
For Albanese to show up, no. Physically, no.
Okay. All right, thank you. And let me just ask Nick one question, if you might. I'm pretty sure I have a feel for how it works, but during construction, when Brown Coldwell puts together a payment request, is it you that goes out to do the inspection to see that the work was completed? Yeah, you to sign off on it, or?
The everyday resident engineering is performed by Brown Coldwell.
Right.
Mr. Superintendent and myself, we review that the work that's done, basically on a monthly basis related to pay requisitions and things like that, and we do approve that, after the fact. Also, if there's an issue related to a field change that needs the city's input as far as change orders and things like that, then we also are involved to that regard. As far as a daily visit or a daily presence by myself on the site, that we just don't have the resources.
Okay, well, obviously, they're being paid to oversee the
Correct.
construction and to see that it's done right. But you physically go there when the payment request is drawn up, or you don't even do that?
I go there when the need arises, not necessarily when there's a pay rec that's in question. I was there multiple times over the summer or towards the end of the summer where there was significant excavation work being performed.
Yeah.
As far as if they're doing some electrical in the building or things like that, I'm not necessarily down there over their shoulder, so to speak.
All right, thank you. Mr. Superintendent, one last question, and I'm all done. There's what I consider a lot of work, cleanup work to do by us. You told me that it's all out of the contract and it's all on us.
Yes.
Do you have a handle on when it's going to get started or completed, or when it will be in progress?
The first thing we really need to do is the wet well, Tony, because the wet knowledge, because I know there's been some talk from people that work for me that they want the wet well filled in. But we do have electrical and plumbing under that floor that we need to have access to. So we're not going to fill that wet well in.
Well, that would be an
We'll
engineering.
probably go in there, take some of the piping out, and that issue is, it was my decision that, some of that work that can be done in-house at a lot less money to the taxpayers and to the city. That's what we pay our people to do. There's, so they have some input in this as well, that, to make that station better. Obviously, that station should have been probably rehabbed 30 years ago, but here we are today, and there's some, so there's some disagreements between maybe what you felt should have been covered under the contract or what people that work for me felt should have been covered under the contract.
Yeah, I don't know if I thought
Right.
things should have been covered under,
Right.
I might have been surprised that some of them weren't, but I'm not saying I know they should have been covered under the contract.
When we started approaching the $1 million mark, and I'll just give you, for instance, when we did the change order for bricking in the windows, as John Powers was, we just didn't like the look of it. We had a brand new station, $1 million was ugly. We said, look, we got to brick these windows now, based on, the contract numbers that the contractor has. He has to meet certain payroll. We were able to do it for half the money by using a local contractor than going by the contract numbers.
Right.
They had no problem with it. The city saved about $10,000 on that. I feel even in the need, if we had to go outside of my personnel, we would be able to strip that pipe out of that wet well for half the money that we would cost us if we did it under this contract.
So
that's the reason why it was
And
done.
you're not going to fill it in, you're just going to...
I may fill it in up to maybe
Up to-
5-6 feet or so, but the building was constructed. It's a solidly constructed building. If the wet well was still in use, there would be no need to fill it in. So, but I do think, the floor would have to obviously have a safety hatch put on top so that, and that'll all take place over the course of the next few months.
Okay, great.
Okay.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
for the-
Councilor
for
Zambuto.
the
Councilor
time.
Correggio.
Thank you, Chairman Powers. It's either for Donnie or Mr. Lombardi. That light, right now the light is off. If something was to happen with the pumping station, would the light go on, or would be some kind?
Let me explain again, because I think I've repeated myself several times on the way this station operates, Jack. And I think I've explained this to you before. The operation of the pumping station has nothing to do with that light. The alarm system is tied into a radio signal that hooks up to the telephone signal that calls our answering service, that sends out and dispatches the people that work for me if there's a problem with the pumps. In the event that somebody goes up and tries to jiggle the door to try to get in, that's an intrusion alarm. The light will go on. At some point, that will all be integrated in so that we'll get the same response that we were getting now, but it would be sent via the telephone line to our computer system so we'll know what's going on. So the only time that light basically is going to go on if we got a the smoke detector goes off, the intrusion alarm goes off, or we have what we have in the generator housing is a leak detection sensor on the floor. And what's been triggering that sensor, and it's happened about 2 or 3 times since the inception that it's gone in, is the caulking on the housing has let a little bit of water in there that triggers the leak detection sensor. I talked to Power Products today. It's really not the type of weather that you want to get in there and try to re-caulk and reseal that. It's just going to fail in the future. So when I want it done right. I want the temperature properly. And, you know, it's just one of those little quirky things. We haven't had a smoke detector problem. We had supposedly had one last Friday for an intrusion alarm and a leak alarm the same night. I don't know. I don't know if that was one and the same, but we did have one that was reported to us by our personnel on Friday.
Well, excuse me, Donald, isn't that door sort of loose anyway? If somebody pushes it,
It was a little loose, but we
yeah.
went back and we tightened things up and we put a different striker plate on the inside. So we're just waiting to see if that's going to suffice. If that does not suffice, we'll get a new door for the pump station.
Thank you, sir.
One more question. The warranty on that unit, on that pumping station, what is the warranty? Can you explain? Warranty on maintenance, if something was to happen, do we have a year, 2 years on the pumps or the?
Yeah, the contract is a 1-year warranty.
Right.
On everything, the contractor has that, and vendors also have 1-year warranty. For the pumps themselves, there's an extended 5-year warranty.
Right.
On the pumps themselves.
And what was the total cost of this whole pumping station?
I believe it was $884,000.
Originally, there was a $400,000 bid, and it climbed up to $800,000.
Council, when we initially went out to do specifications on that station, we knew that it was going to be well over $600,000-700,000. We went to the mayor because the mayor wanted to get this thing started because it was a problem. He claimed that the city at the time could only afford $365,000 or $375,000. So we put it out there to get projections of what it was going to cost us to do this station. So after that first year, we absolutely knew what was going to transpire as far as cost went, and that's where the city understood that we couldn't afford to pay for that station out of a capital improvement fund. We turned it around, put it into the consent order, the SRF funding, and that's how the station was paid for. It was not paid out of a capital improvement fund, and it was paid out of the state revolving fund.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Correggio. Councilor Ganasso, member of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through the course of the last year or so, I've had conversations with Councilor Powers, to which I might add, very enlightening and very impressed with his closeness to the project and working with Mr. Lombardi and the workforce of the people who are working down there, with you, Mr. Superintendent, and with our city engineer, Nick Rystrom. It's a compliment to our community when we come up and we have people that are employed by our city and those that we have hired to work for our city come and give us such information. It not only enlightens the home owner at home and the people, the viewers at home, but it also enlightens us councilors who are really not versed per se in this type of operation. I have an operation down at the end of my street, which is the Martin Street floodgates, and that's works in harmony with the other flood protections around our community.
Correct.
To alleviate the whole problem, because our table of water is high because we live in a community where we're surrounded with water. So we have a lot of disadvantages in terms of water coming in the proper ways. So it's with this type of management, yourself and Nick and Charlie and everybody else that that the city has employed in this particular project. And I have to compliment again Councilor Powers. He's right on top of this all the time, and he's informed me throughout the whole thing, so I didn't even have to call you or ask you, because he was informative every single time I asked questions of him. He had the proper answers, and it made me feel assured that we were being protected. So it's a compliment to everybody who's working out there. I've had the occasion to work the last couple of weeks with you and the city engineer and working out a problem on Squire Road. And again, tremendous response, tremendous application of work effort in the community, and working with the private sector is a big thing for our community, you know. So I applaud your efforts, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Councilor Ganasso. Councilor Patch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say, Donnie, the important thing is that the pump station in the Pines, I think I mentioned it at the last meeting. The three storms we had together there, there was Sandy and the one big rainstorm afterwards. I mean, there wasn't one problem with the pump station. Is that correct?
Correct.
No storage backup.
None.
No flooding.
None.
So evidently the construction company, what's the name?
Albanese.
Albanese.
Yes.
They did a great job.
They did a tremendous job.
Tremendous job.
And I'll
now,
reiterate on that a little as we go along.
When I first saw this motion, the alarm, I heard that several complaints of the alarm by the residents. I was thinking that there was a loud alarm or something. It's just a flashing light. So I really don't, you know, I think I think we're all up here for really, I don't understand why we're up here. Well, I know there's problems with the alarms that can be worked out. I mean, and are being worked on. But the main object, I mean, as you know, we did the same $1 million project in my ward.
More.
And more. And and we had problems. And, you know, I don't get it. I mean, I think they did a great job. Councilor Powers watched out. I know I was down there several times in the project on Bruno and Goldie Street, and you know, we had several problems, and we just couldn't. We're still working on it today to try to straighten it out.
Correct.
So again, I want to, you know, I want to thank the construction company in Brown Coldwell. I think you did a fine job, and hopefully in the future we'll get to get you guys again. We got several jobs I know coming up, pump stations. I hope we.
I would love to have Albanese put a pump station in for me any day of the week. And like I said, I would like to reiterate on this, council, this was a very, very difficult job site. This is a postage stamp piece of property that was very difficult to operate with. It required huge, huge, heavy equipment. John Powers and myself were down there every single day that this operation was going on. We were in contact with Albanese every single day. We were in contact with Brown Coldwell every single day. And the fact that, and John can attest to this, not I, he's the ward councilor, he would get these calls. I did not receive a single complaint from a local resident about the construction of that pump station while it was undergoing. I can't say that for other projects we've done within the community. I know, Charlie, you and I were addressing multitude of problems on various projects in the past. So my opinion on this whole project is that I've been here 13 years now. This was one of the, well, probably the best project that I think the city has brought forward since I've been here, as far as relates to the design and what it was designed to do, and it carried out and did its job that it was intended to do. The contractor come in with a very, very, very difficult problem of trying to put this in, it's like putting, I don't know how he did it. I can't use an acronym to it because I want to be politically correct here. But the simple fact that that piece of property was so small, and what required those guys to put that station in there and not get a single complaint from residents on either side or within that community is a testament to the quality of people that they really are, and that we could use here in the future. So anytime they ever need any recommendation from me, I would be first guy to raise my hand and say that Albanese and Brown Coldwell did a first-class job on this project.
And just one last thing. I also want to thank you for the fine work that you done through this project also. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'm going to call on a member of the committee, Councilor Penta, but first I want to recognize Councilor Rigo, who has just come into the chamber now. Councilor Penta.
Mr. Chairman, I really don't have any questions, just probably one, and this is basically probably a statement that, you know, you read something out of a journal. Councilor Zambuto said he heard from somebody that this was wrong or that was whatever. You know, sometimes maybe, you know, sources have motives for their reasons to say things. So, I mean, go to the sources, go to multiple sources. That Donnie's always been straightforward with this council. And I think, you know, that's what you got to do. But as a councilor, you know, if you get a call and someone tells you something, yeah, you act. There's nothing wrong with communication. And what you just said up here went well for Brown and Coldwell. I mean, you basically gave him a recommendation for the next job. So, I mean, there should be no hard feelings here or anything else. It just seems to me that there's a little bitterness in this thing. To me, it was just, hey,
well,
it's informational purposes. The stuff that this council realized that they didn't know stuff that they know now. I mean, you brought up last time that the door ajar and alarm goes off, which is a good thing. I mean, you know, these I've been around construction all my life. There's a punch list on every single job you ever went to. And if there isn't, there's no one perfect, trust me. So, I mean, these things do last and linger on after the job is done. I mean, I went to the ribbon. Does that mean it's done? No. It's basically down there saying it's good for the neighbors, give the neighbors some, you know, insurance that, you know, they're not going to get raw storage in their houses, which, you know, is probably one of the worst things that could possibly happen of anybody's homes. I mean, it destroys, you know, lifelong pitches, things that, you know, you sent over generations. So, I mean, I don't see any harm done in this whole thing, but, you know, I commend the work you've done, and, you know, I seen my friend Guy Glotus down at the opening, who's a good guy. No, I do want to commend you, Donnie, also. I mean, I know your job is tough enough. I mean, this is not it's not the best city. To me, it is the greatest city. But when it comes to water-related issues, there's issues. And I think, you know, with that mandate, unfortunately, it's a mandate, and it's going to cost millions of dollars. I think in the end of the road there, the city will be a lot better off for water-related issues. But I do want to commend all the work that everybody's done.
John and I fully understand the nature of the light, because I was the Ward 5 councilor there before John was, so I know. I dealt with that pumping station. My predecessors dealt with that pumping station. So John and I kind of got together early and tried to push that station to the forefront to try to get it replaced. Now, what happens is in the old station, when the alarm went off, the light would go on as well. So we'd get the call, but the light would still go on. So people, when there was, and you would be experiencing problems at that point, because the pumps weren't operating efficiently, they weren't doing the job that they were supposed to do, and people had raw storage coming in their houses. They had sewers surcharging in the middle of the street. So we do know that if people see that, they're going to want to know, why is the light on? And we will explain that to them. So coming in the near future, when all these things are corrected, you're going to see that this station was done exactly the way it was designed, and it's doing exactly what it was intended to do. And that, along with some other issues with Charlie Lombardi, who has all the expertise on the MWRA, he worked there for 20 years, helped me immensely in determining what and where to look for tidal influence that's coming into that station, and we picked that up. That's another issue that's helping us. Now we're hoping to put a CMON package together in the near future to eliminate all cross connections between drain and sewer and get rid of the sump pumps. And once that is done, I think we'll be closer to the end of this resolution with the federal government. Thank
I'll
you.
just say one more thing, Mr. Chairman, because you brought something up which is a plus. When Charlie was up, he said work at MWRA. I remember, I'm sure you do, Mr. Del Greco used to work,
Yep.
and the knowledge that they know just from working at MWRA that would help the city out. In my area, I got 2 pumping stations, not for raw storage, but for drainage, which is just as bad. It can go in people's houses and whatnot, but there was drainages behind people's houses and everything else, which he knew by working on MWRA. So that's a plus, too. I mean, to your credit, hiring someone like that with all the knowledge. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Pinto. I'll call on Councilor Reardon now as a member of the committee. Councilor Reardon.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. There's been a lot of underlying controversy here about why we're and what we're doing, but I think we all need to recognize that when there are warning lights going off, people have to ask questions. It's as simple as that. And I think it's a good idea, and it's a perfect forum to get things out in the open when people see that, and I hope a lot of people are watching and paying attention tonight, because a lot of those questions are now answered, and I think, again, everybody says you're doing a great job, and I couldn't agree with you more. I believe this is every word you say when you say this station is going to eventually work to its design, and that'll be a big relief, I'm sure, for the people in Ward 5. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Reardon. Councilor Haas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm glad that Councilor Zambuto actually brought this up. It gave us an opportunity firsthand to talk to all the principals in designing and construction, etc. It brought to light many issues that I was not aware of from the various speakers, including Superintendent Goodwin. As we all know, we had 3 major storms, and this was mentioned before, no problem at all. Donnie talked about the cross connections coming out. Once that's done, it's going to help out that area, Lower Revere Street to Pines Mills. That's absolutely tremendous. Water's going where water is supposed to go, back out. I remember when I was mayor, we used to meet Charlie, it seemed like
Bypass.
monthly down there. When he was in charge of the pumps in the MWRA, and he really helped out Revere, especially in the Pines and Beachmont area. Absolutely tremendous. I'm happy that we're here because the people who watch this on TV and the people who will be reading the local papers will read exactly what's going on. It'll take that fear out of them. And I think that's a key factor. So that's one of the benefits from this evening. I had one question as far as the pump stations guaranteed for 1 year. Is there any way we could look at what an extended guarantee warranty would be? Because it may be prudent to the city to take advantage of something
You
like
have an
that.
extended warranty on the pumps for 5 years,
Right.
but the construction aspect of it, I'm not sure. I would defer it to, so it's 1 year.
One
And
year.
that seems to be the general practice with all the project that we've undertaken. It's been 1 year. Some of the components you may get an extended warranty, but the actual construction is generally 1 year.
1 year, thank you. I've got a habit, I drive around Revere every day, Monday through Friday, to check out the gates down in Ward 6, especially last week. We had heavy rains to make sure. I talked to the people in the various areas. And invariably, when I ever went down to Point of Pines, I would see John there. His car was always there, etc. And John should be commended for staying on top of this, as Charlie indicated. It takes a lot of effort. Granted, some of us are retired, and we have that time. But again, John should be commended for doing a job well done, representing the people of Ward 5, without question. And you also, as a superintendent, I get down there, I see the guys from DPW down there. They've done a great job. And one benefit also, we're going to save some overtime down at that pump station without question, you know?
Counselor, I figure that that pump station will pay for itself within 10 years, based on the amount of overtime and the amount of maintenance that we were putting into that facility, which is the best bargain that money can buy.
I'd just like to compliment the people who designed it, the construction crew, Charlie, his knowledge, and also for you and the council, school committee member Goodwin. School committee, that goes way back.
That goes way back.
Superintendent.
Well, I was skinny then.
Superintendent, right?
You're dating him now, Councillor Haas.
You know, but
Go
you know,
easy, Councillor Penta.
But I really, I can't stress enough how much effort John put into this project from day one. I mean, this isn't something we just evolved around the pump station project construction phase. This goes back, you know, 8 years, 9 years before dealing with all these problems. As soon as we knew there was a storm coming, the phone would ring. John, get your rain gear on. We're going out. We got to decide, see what's going on down there. And, you know, this past storm, believe it or not, the Rice Avenue actually toppled over. And once again, Brown Coldwell did some work on our pump station down at Rice Avenue, which was a small money fix. So in combination with the new pump station and the repairs to the old drain station, 5 years ago, 2 years ago, if that combination had ever happened, there would have been flooding all over the Pines. There would have been surcharging all over the Pines. And I can attest that I didn't receive a single call. I don't have a single reported SSO to the federal or state government. And I would assume that John got the same response from the residents as well. We had no trouble at all.
Thank you, Councillor Haas. Councillor Janino. Councilwoman Janino.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I want to thank you all for taking time out of your Monday night to come here and answer these questions for us and for the community. I think that just to see how many people turned out for this one project really shows not only the council but the people of Revere how many people go into one project as big as this, and it really is a lot for you all to take the time out together and come and answer all these questions for us and for the people in that community. I also want to reinforce Councillor Haas's comments about Councillor Powers. You know, it really does show you the ward councilor's responsibility to his community, and the fact that he not only was an asset to the people in his ward, but to the council. He was a resource for us to ask questions, and that's, what more can you ask for in a councilor? So just to bring it back to the motion, I guess the original motion was to explain the malfunctions of the pump station. So after all this conversation, because I feel like we've talked about a million different things regarding the station, the only, I guess you could call malfunctions, would be the question about the light, which was a misunderstanding.
Correct.
The issue of the caulking, which is seasonal, the door, which has already been fixed, and then the exposed switches on the outside. So my only question is, what's the resolution to that?
Well, the resolution today, we proceeded to put holes in the quick connect to shut them off. I feel that we should put an enclosure over it because the quick connects are designed to shut them off when you need it, when there's a problem. You shouldn't have to show up there. If the fire department gets there before we do, they're not going to have the key to open them up. They're going to have to cut the locks off. So, you know, this thing about the disconnect, anybody who puts a new electrical service into their home has a quick disconnect on their house. So this is nothing that's, you know, just part of the pump station. That's the new code. You have to have a disconnect so that if there's a fire in your home, or if there's a problem with the electrical in your home, that the fire department can show up, shut the power down on the outside to protect not only the inhabitants of the house, but the general public at large. So that's why they put the disconnects on there. The other problem was the door, and the other was just some caulking, I believe, that will be able to resolve the issue of leak detection. Now, at that point, will we have to say, look at it and say, nobody anticipated that the water coming off the roof of the pump house would somehow affect leaking into the where the generator is housed. But once we put the caulking in there, can we put up a gutter? Yeah, we can put up a gutter. I mean, but those are minor issues that you wouldn't anticipate when you're designing a pump station. Mm-hmm. And there's other things that I plan on doing there. I mean, The fence wasn't part of the overall, because there was never a fence there before for the manholes and stuff. I put that fence up there myself. That was done by myself, Councilor Powers, and Mayor Rizzo. We're also going to put another fence up for the people that live next door. We took down trees. We participated in this project to reduce the cost as much as we could in-house. So there's still a lot of things that will be done. I feel that, it's a beautiful area, it's a nice area, that we should do some landscaping out in the front. Why does a pump station have to look like a prison house? It's just not necessary. So with a little, you spend a couple of $1,000s a year, you put some nice flowering, some bushes and stuff down there, it can be an attractive site. It doesn't have to look like this mechanical facility in the middle of the Linway, surrounded by beautiful homes. So that's our intent, and that's the road we're heading towards, to try to, keep everybody happy and make the city look better.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Janino. Councilor Rigo? Thank you, Councilor Rigo.
Former Ward 5 Councilor Sanders, I'm going to chime in on this. Come on.
I just have a couple of comments to make, and first of all, I want to thank Albanese Construction. I've had at least a dozen people, when I was down there this fall, tell me what a great job Albanese did working on such a compact lot. And your clerk of the works, Lauren Pepe, she was standing there every minute of the day watching that job site, making sure that everything was done according to specification and code. Mr. Lombardi, Brown Coldwell, I want to thank your organization also, not only for the work you did on the John Avenue pump station, but for the work you did down on Atwood Street, down on working with Mr. Mahan down on Bay Road, the Jackson Street pump station, and I want to thank the former mayor and the present mayor for all of the monies that they've put in to relieve people from raw sewerage going into their homes. And it's not a nice thing to come home and get a call from a homeowner that they have raw sewerage in their basement. They just finished coming from their job to come home and have dinner and find that situation. So a lot has been done in that area, and I know there's a lot more that has to be done. I know my colleague, Councilor Patch, he has some issues up there, and they have to be addressed also. And I want Councilor Patch to know, and I will support him 100% on any requirements, monies required to correct those issues, because those issues are a quality of life issue. People should not have to suffer sewerage and drainage water, etc., in their homes. Those are the first things that have to be corrected. In fact, I would hope that in Superintendent Goodwin, in your conversations with the mayor, and I also will speak with him, that there is, I don't think $50,000 is enough for the culvert and catch basin cleaning in this city, and I would like to see more money put in there to clean the catch basins, the culverts, and particularly the trash racks that jam up from people throwing stuff in there.
Council, I couldn't agree with you more on that. The issue that came from the culverts is a new one that's just raised its head. Under prior administrations and mine as well, when we called in mosquito control, it was a state organization that does the culvert cleaning, you were allowed to go in and take the sediments and phragmites from the culvert and side cast it to the side, which kind of built up the banks a little bit, creating more capacity, because it would bring the elevation higher. You can no longer do that. The DEP, the EPA does not allow that, and the problem with that now is the sedimentation that's coming in from county ditches. They're not Revere ditches. They belong to the state. They belong to the DCR. They belong to Mass Highway. But we are the ones responsible for keeping them clean because it impacts the residents of the city of Revere. Well, now the problem is we're still dealing with one at Wonderland Dog Track, that John Powers is quite, because this happened in his ward as well, is that when we took the material out of there and had it tested, the tested material We can't put it anywhere in Massachusetts. It has to go outside the state because it's contaminated with arsenics and things and petroleum products that come off the state highways. So we're myself, John Festa, and the mayor are trying to negotiate with the state, because they are also going to be part of these consent orders that the federal government is putting down, is that we don't mind paying our fair share to make sure that our culverts are clean, so that the people won't have to put up with the flooding that Charlie and John and Richie experience on a regular basis. But we would like to say, okay, if we're a third of it, then 2/3 of it should be paid by one organization other than that, because we're impacted by the MBTA, we're impacted by Amtrak, we're impacted by DCR, and we're impacted by Mass DOT. But presently, when the cost of taking care of this culverts was $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 every, so many years or so, it didn't hurt. Right now, I don't have the money to even dispose of the material, because that's how costly it's going to be to get rid of it. So I agree, and I know that Mr. Fester has put in quite a bit of mitigation money for just that issue, if we're lucky enough to get this casino operation to come in, Councilor.
Well, that's good news, because that Eastern County ditch, the Central County ditch, they certainly need the service down there, cleaning and disposal of that material. Again, I want to just say one thing. This has been a good meeting. It's been informative. People know exactly what's going on with their not only their pump station down there, but some other areas throughout the city. I think Councillor Zambuto's motion brought a lot to light here tonight. Although I would have answered him if he'd asked me, I would have. And again, I want to thank all of the members of the council and all of the participants here tonight for working cohesively to make this a better city and solve our problems in a professional manner. Thank you all, and this concludes the meeting of the Public Works Committee meeting of this evening. Thank you.